For some of you, this might be your first time at this facility at the East Central DeKalb Community and Senior Center, and it's an awesome center. If you've not had an opportunity to be here and take part in any of the resources and programs, please see any of the staff that are here today and ask more about this center. It's a jewel in Stone Mountain. It's a jewel in DeKalb County, and we're very happy to have it here in District 4. My name is Alicia Brooks, and I serve as the Chief of Staff to Commissioner Chakira Johnson, District 4. I've been with the District 4 team since 2017. Some of you know me from my days with Commissioner Stephen Bradshaw, and I am thrilled to be still here serving with Commissioner Chakira Johnson. Just a little bit about her before I bring her up. Some of you know her from her days on City Council in Stone Mountain. She had about 16 plus years there, serving also as Mayor Pro Tem. And so we are very fortunate in DeKalb County to have an elected official, a public servant that comes to us with a wealth of knowledge, experience, and a heart to serve the people. I also live in District 4. So yes, I'm biased. I'm absolutely biased. I want nothing but the best for District 4 and for DeKalb County. I raised my daughters in this county. My husband and I have a home in this county. And as far as we're concerned, we're not going anywhere unless they drag us out. So hopefully that won't happen. So Commissioner, you see you got a full house. I think this is a good turnout. More folks are coming. We've got a host of resources here. As you came in, there were tables with different folks here representing departments of the county. Not only that, we've got folks from Hidden Hill that are here with a survey, and if you are in the area, in that residential area, please take part in that survey. It's information that they very much need as they're looking to develop and enhance their overlay. Again, my name is Alicia Brooks. Feel free to stop me, ask questions. My table, we've got a table, District 4, with my card as well as Commissioner Johnson's card. Just a little bit of housekeeping. As you leave out of these doors, the restrooms are down this hallway here to your left. And I think we're good. Hope the breakfast is fulfilling and satisfying. And again, thank you for being here. And Commissioner Johnson, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Good morning, everybody. How are you doing today? As she said, I am Commissioner Chakira Johnson, new commissioner here in District 4. Excited to have the opportunity to serve this amazing district, which I have lived in for over 20 years. Served on Stone Mountain City Council for many, many years, and just excited to have this opportunity to take that experience that I've built and serve all of District 4 and all of DeKalb County. So I think also many of you may know that I am a civil engineer by trade. So our first guest or our keynote speaker today is near and dear to my heart because infrastructure is my bread and butter. And I think it's very important that we focus on that here in DeKalb County and also in District 4. So I'm just going to give a couple brief remarks on kind of our vision here in District 4 and what you can expect as we're working on our goals in District 4. We created a mission statement this year that reads, District 4's goal is to enhance collaboration among the CEO and Board of Commissioners, departments and stakeholders to support a unified strategy for economic development, business growth, and community engagement in DeKalb County. This partnership aims to improve communication, optimize resources, and focus on housing, employment, recreation, education, and sustainability, and ultimately improving residents' quality of life. We are going to holistically look at all these pieces together as we engineer progress for DeKalb County. Additionally, we have key focus areas that we are going to put all our efforts into. We have 5 focus areas that includes infrastructure, Memorial Drive revitalization, homelessness, supporting our new Americans, and youth development. So as you see information coming out from my office, you'll be hearing more and more about these focus areas and our mission for District 4 in our first year. If you're following us on social media, you may have seen that we also have started a podcast. We should have 2 episodes being posted next week. Newsletters are coming out, so please make sure you're following or connecting. We also have here my communication specialist, Carrie Cordes, who works very hard behind the scenes, making sure we are getting everything done and communicating as best we can with the citizens of District 4. You want me to introduce? Okay. So I also could not do any of this, not only without my chiefs of staff's hard work and my communication specialist's hard work. I want to thank DCTV for being here and making sure that we can get this live stream so everybody can see it. Administration, thank them so much. We have our youth commission. They're manning the tables out front. We have IT present. We have our directors up here who will be answering questions soon. We also have Onyx Media Services. And we do have at least one other elected official in the room. If there's other elected officials, please stand. So I know we have Mayor Pro Tem Ryan Smith from Stone Mountain. We have, yes, Superior Court Clerk Deborah DeBerry here. I think that is all we have. Okay, thank you. So at this time, we'll roll into, we're going to switch the schedule up a little bit because Director Lemke needs to head out a little early. So he's going to give us about 5 minutes on exciting potholes.
Good morning. Thank you again. I'm Rick Lemke. I'm the Public Works Director. That puts me in charge of sanitation, transportation, roads and drainage, and fleet management. So it's a big department. We have a lot of responsibilities. One thing I want to brag about, I always take the chance to brag, is that we have one of only 6 agencies in the state of Georgia that has achieved accreditation from the American Public Works Association. And we're very proud of that. It doesn't mean we're perfect. It means we have a lot of work ahead of us, but it also means we do a lot of things and that we have a lot of policies and procedures that are comparable to everything in the rest of the country. So we're very proud of that. This is, of course, thank you. As Commissioner Johnson just indicated, and I thank you very much for letting me screw up your agenda, but this is a wonderful time of the year. It's not only is it pollen season, but it's also pothole season. That's enough to cause everybody to start quaking in fear. First you look over the hood of your vehicle and you see that nice yellow film over the top of your vehicle, and then you hit a pothole that bounces some of it off. But the potholes are real. As much as we try to stay ahead of them, it is a function of the weather. It's been a rough year. We've had a lot of freezing. We've had cold temperatures. We've had moisture. You get cold weather and moisture that gets into the subgrade of the streets. It freezes, it expands, presto, you got a pothole. It gets even worse if you've got some marginal construction activities that may have occurred 50 years ago. It's just not a perfect situation. So invariably, you're going to get potholes. Repairing those potholes is kind of a fun activity because it's also very weather dependent. The purpose or the perfect type of repair would entail digging everything out, getting it recompacted, putting in a hot mix asphalt and compacting that as well and going on your way. Unfortunately, the asphalt plants don't produce hot mix asphalt when it's cold outside. Generally, you need to have at least 40 degrees, sometimes 45 degrees before they'll even start to think about producing hot mix asphalt. If there's no hot mix asphalt to be available, then we have no choice but to use what they call cold mix, which is it's still a material that is more pliable in cold weather. You can put it down in a pothole and basically stomp on it a few times and try to compact it as best you can, but it is not the greatest patch in the world, and we know it, but you don't really have any choice, and neither does anybody else. So, a lot of times you'll see a pothole developed, we'll come out, we'll throw the cold patch in there, we'll try and compact it as best we can, and a week later, after a few trucks hit it, it may bounce that material right back out again, and presto, we've got another pothole in the same location and sometimes a little bit bigger. What we do about it is we try to do an all hands on deck throughout the months of April. We wait until April because that's when the temperatures generally warm up enough that we can rely on the asphalt plants to start producing more of that hot mix material that we really want. And we'll call all hands on deck. We'll pull people off of other crews within the department to spend time doing nothing but repairing potholes. We'll also end up getting contractors on board to do corridors. They'll go down the whole corridor. We'll say, hey, start at Street A, go down 16 miles to the end of the street, and I want you to fix every pothole you see. So we try and do that with our contractors as well. That being said, we can't always keep up with them. We get probably in the neighborhood of 4,000, 5,000, maybe as much as 6,000 potholes that we end up having to repair per year. That's a lot of potholes. We do use some special equipment. We have some materials that we can try and keep asphalt hot longer so that it can be compacted better. But nonetheless, we do everything we can to try and stay with it. That being said, what I'm going to ask everybody here is if you have potholes that are particularly bothering you, or you want to report one, we have a pothole hotline. And I'll give you that number. It's 404-297-3813. And we call that the pothole hotline. It's not it's probably going to end up going to a voicemail. And if you do call that number and you report a pothole, stay on the line long enough for the voicemail to answer. And then please provide enough details that our crews know where to go. It doesn't do any good to get on the line and say, hey, I got a pothole. Will you please get out here and fix it? Get out where? Give us an address. If you can, give us a street address. Be as specific as you can to provide us with the information that we can send crews out appropriately to get that kind of material taken care of. That doesn't mean we're going to get out the next 2 hours and get it. We're going to have to try and schedule our crews accordingly because I can't just fix a pothole over here and have a crew go all the way across the county and fix a pothole over here and then way back over here again. We'll spend all our time just driving, and that's not effective. So we try and schedule what we can, but please be patient with us. Potholes are going to happen. I can't stop them from happening, much as we try with our resurfacing program. But please, by all means, take advantage of that pothole hotline and give us a call, and we'll try and do our best to get those things taken care of. So
Can you give the pothole number again, sir?
The number is 404-297-3813. And please be assured it does work. I called it this morning just to make sure. So it is active. And again, I thank you so much. Thank you.
I have a burning question for you on potholes. Which side of the county, or is there a side of the county that has more potholes than others?
No.
We're equally distributing our potholes?
Distributed as far as where our potholes are located. A lot of people tend to think that a new street isn't going to have potholes versus an old street. That's not necessarily the case. It really matters about how the street was constructed. Granted, we try to do whatever resurfacing we can. We've been able to use the SPLOST money to do that. We try and do the worst streets first as well as we can. And there's always differences of opinion as to what constitutes the worst street, but we do the best we can to do that. And as we fix those streets, as we resurface those streets, that should cut down overall the number of potholes that we have long term. And eventually it will, but as we're resurfacing Street A over here, Street B over here is deteriorating because it just does so with age, and that's just the way it is. Yes?
Well,
Nope.
We need mics. We've got folks listening on DCTV. Go ahead. I'll hold it.
Okay. We just wanted to thank you, sir, for coming by East Ponce de Leon and Glendale. I think that you resurfaced some of the splitting in the road there, and there were some potholes there. And I know that you get mostly complaints, so I just wanted to thank you for sending your crew by.
I'm not sure if I know how to react to that.
We recorded that,
Take
correct?
the win.
I was going to say, we recorded that. Can I replay
We did.
that?
Stephen Benny gave a compliment. Thank you, sir.
I suspect insurance may be a problem here, but is there anything that we as residents can do to do a temporary fix, like throw some sand in there or what have you?
Call.
I would suggest not, because that exposes you to liability, and, you know, that's just not a good thing to do. Your best bet really is to give us a call and do that pothole hotline. You know, if it's something that is so severe that it is a dangerous situation, we do have crews on at night that we do man, you know, round the clock, so we do have emergency crews if we have that kind of a situation. As you can see, you know, I come from other parts of the country, so to speak. I spent a lot of time out in Wyoming where we had some really cold weather, and we didn't get concerned about potholes until you saw a VW in the bottom of it.
Good morning. Thank you for being here. I know that you may not know specific streets, but you may be familiar with Laredo Drive. It runs between Avondale Estates and the DeKalb Farmers Market, East Ponce. It is literally a battlefield of potholes. Where is it on the schedule? We've lost populations.
I'll have somebody get back and take that up. You know, yes. You're right. I don't know every street. I don't have everything memorized, but I'll jot it down here. Laredo.
One more question. We're going to take one more question from Mr. Lemke, and then we do have a built-in Q&A session at the end.
Mr. Lim, good morning. Over here. Where are we on the schedule, follow up on that question, in terms of the number of potholes that are reported, and how quickly can you get to them? Is it a 1 week wait, 2 weeks? What is it?
It's really going to vary, and I really can't give you a good answer to that because our performance also depends on weather. If it rains today, you know, that doesn't mean that I can get out there as soon as it stops raining. I have to wait for that pothole to dry out before I can do anything, plus the fact waiting for material supplies and stuff like that. So, you know, in an ideal world, if you were to call and report a pothole on Monday, you know, I would love to be able to tell you that we'd have a crew out there by Tuesday. Probably not going to happen. It may be a week or so before we see that happen. And if it doesn't happen within that kind of time, don't be afraid to give us another call. Because, you know, we say with 5,000 potholes around the county, you know, we can't keep track of everything. So, you know, by all means, if you're not seeing the response that you think is appropriate, you know, give us another call. But at the same time, I got to tell you that it's not necessarily going to be within a 24-hour period. It's just not possible.
So we will be adding some information in our upcoming newsletters to address some of these questions about potholes and where people are on the list. But if you also have the pothole hotline, but you can also reach out to our office and we can help make connections if you're needing anything from roads and drainage or any of our departments. Okay. So thank you, Mr. Lemke.
Again, yes, thank you very much. And I apologize again for having to duck out, but that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Yes. So our next speaker is going to be Ms. Maria Hauser, who has been integral for our first, well, I think we're in our first 90 days of 2025. And as we started the BOC in January, we really hit the ground running. We had a major water main break. We were doing the rate increase, approving a budget, the House bill. We've been busy, busy, busy. And one of the hot topics has been this water rate increase. So it was a no-brainer for me to decide who to have for our first keynote speaker at our first Community Connections Breakfast, who can bring this information directly to you guys. And that's Ms. Maria Hauser. She's the county's Director of Environmental Compliance, Capital Improvement Program, which is CIP, and Consent Decree. She is an attorney and an engineer, fellow Georgia Tech grad. So thank you, Georgia Tech. So at this time, we will have Ms. Maria Hauser.
Good morning, everyone. Good to be with you. On the side, we have actually paper copies of the presentation I'm going to do. We also have on the side a little bit of trinkets that help our wastewater system. So I'll probably say if we could pass it down from table to table. I'll have one on one side, one on the other side. And I tend to move, and I tend to talk to people, so y'all are going to engage with me. All right. As the commissioner mentioned, early this year, they acted on a number of things to support our water and our wastewater system. And as you can imagine, our water system is crucial to any civilization. And it is crucial to our community here in DeKalb County. At the same time, we need all of our waste. So anytime you take a shower, you use the bathroom, you wash your dishes, that wastewater needs to be removed from your communities, your home, and sent for treatment at the water treatment plant before it's released back into the environment, into our waterways. So that's kind of the cycle of what happens. So today I'm going to focus on some of the challenges we've had for decades. So when I said the commissioners acted, this was an act that was needed to address decades and decades of disinvestment and neglect in both our water and wastewater, and sometimes wastewater is called sewage systems, so both words are interchangeable. So I'm going to talk about some of the challenges and some of the solutions that we're acting on right now because of what the board has done, the impact of that investment in our community, so what you will expect to experience in the next decade going forward. And then we're going to also talk about a pathway forward as we go along this journey together. So let's get started with our challenges and our solutions. And I'll just give you a background. When I said decades of neglect, that means we have our water system and our wastewater system. The condition of it was a bit dire. And when I say dire, how many of you in your communities have experienced a water main break? Oh, yeah, okay. Okay, well, thank God that's not everybody. It's close. But we truly experience about 3 breaks a day. So today we're going to have crews that are out there responding. And that's not normal. That's not normal in a system. At the same time, we are having sewer spills, meaning either the system is not large enough to take all of our wastewater, or they're damaging in our system just due to age, which allows rainwater to get into our wastewater. And we don't want rainwater to get into our wastewater, causing spills. So we are really got to this critical point where our systems are at the risk of failing. And that's what we're seeking to address. So that urgent action was required. As we could see here, the Board of Commissioners, they took action, and now my team, we're going to be doing a lot of implementation, and part of that implementation is sharing with the community because we're going to be disruptive. And we want to explain to you why we're going to be disruptive, why we're going to be digging up roads, why we're going to be in your backyards creating a big hole, moving in pipes that are my size and larger. That's the size of pipes we're talking about addressing in the next decade. And you need to be informed as to what we're doing. A couple of pictures here. You could see that center picture. That's at our water treatment plant. Those poles there are holding the building up. That's not ideal for, I know, everybody's laughing. You see the concrete barrier there? Yeah, those are bracing the poles that are holding the building up. That's not ideal. On the left there, that's an example of a sewer spill, one of our major sewer spills, and that was the Beaufort Highway water main break. If you don't remember, it lasted for a week. People could not cross the road. You had traffic being diverted. It was a mess. So I want to give you a background on our water system first. So that includes the water treatment plant, our transmission mains, which are the big size pipes which act as a superhighway. So if you think about our highways have multiple lanes, they're large. I'm sorry, our freeways have multiple lanes, they're large, versus surface streets in our community, they're smaller, one lane, either way. So as we start along this journey, when did we start putting pipes in the ground? Way back in 1909 on the water side, 1911 on the sewer side. And some of those pipes are still in the ground. 1909, 1911. Okay. Another point in time, the Department of Watershed Management, it was known by a different name back then, but in 1942 it was created to kind of manage all of those pipes, those assets that were there. And then you had our first water treatment plant, 1942. That date is significant because there are still parts of that 1942 plant that's existing right now creating our drinking water system, and we need to address. We don't want to continue having 1942 type assets in our system. 1994, remember I was talking about those huge transmission mains taking water to our communities, the super highways, interstate. The last one we put into the ground was 50 years ago. We've grown since then. We have updated those last dates. We have done a partial update to our Scott Candler water treatment plant, but the 1942 part stays. So this is just a graphic showing when the water treatment plant was established, when the last water main was built, and it tells us how much our population has grown since then. Almost 9 times bigger than back then. So you would have anticipated us continuing to build out the system as the population grew, and that did not happen. So another point I want you to take away, this is why we had to act quickly and the board had to act quickly, was DeKalb County only has 1 water treatment plant. 1. For all of us, 1. 1 source of water, the raw water intake structure. 1. So if that asset fails, we don't have water. And what happened last year and the year before, we had breakers failing that were back from the 40s, electrical controls, et cetera, and our 1 water treatment plant went offline. And we have hours of water to figure out and fix whatever happened. So that created a lot of the urgency. And Commissioner Johnson, with her being a civil engineer, she is really intricate in understanding because she has, in her role, just in her profession and her career, she actually did a lot of this work over at DeKalb County. So it's, you know, my team, they were thrilled to see her there because as part of the Public Works and Infrastructure Committee, she is key to moving a lot of things forward because she just has that understanding because that's her main area, her career, and where she's lived for years and years. So we want to continue. Our goal is to have safe, clean, and reliable. We have consistently been able to make that safe and clean drinking water standard. It's just not reliable. And we don't want, when you lose the water treatment plant, now you start getting into the, is it safe and clean? But right now, we've been able to maintain that. We're trying to get up the reliability, and we're trying to maintain having that safe, clean water. At the same time, we don't want your communities to be inundated by sewer spills. Who wants sewers running down your roads, getting into our waterways? No one wants that as well. So on the water side, let's talk about some of the issues we're seeing in our pipes. They're undersized because we did not have another build out since the 70s. What that does, particularly in this area, not at your home, but in the public streets where we have our water pipes, because they're undersized, you have to apply more pressure to get them to the communities. So we have old pipes, and we're pressurizing them. Y'all wonder why we're having so many breaks? Okay, so you're seeing that high pressure, particularly in the southern parts of DeKalb, because the water plant is on the northern side and really at the tip of the county, and you're having to push all of that water down in undersized pipes. Some of them are clogged. It's called tuberculation, and that is preventing just water getting to us as well. And it's increasing that frictional aspect, increasing pressure. Of course, they're aged because we have not done a lot of development. Do y'all remember the burst on Claremont? Oh yeah, that was a 1941 pipe. They're still in the ground. So we're seeing there's another aspect for catastrophic breaks. And I'll talk to you about what's called the pre-stressed concrete. And there are two examples on either side of the screen talking about pre-stressed concrete. And what happened in the 1970s, 71, 72, something happened with our manufacturers of precast concrete in the U.S. So this is not just DeKalb County, this is throughout the U.S. Whatever they did in their manufacturing process was not good. And those precast concrete, like on Claremont, they are failing, and when they fail catastrophically. And they will, because of just the pressure and the amount of water, they will take out a road. Over in McClendon, that failed twice last year. And it was very unfortunate because the homeowner that was there, it took out their front yard. It took out their sewer lateral. I mean, we couldn't find it. It was just gone, as well as a huge chunk out of the road. So you could see just the catastrophic failure that we've already had in our communities. So this is real. That's some of the challenges we are facing on our water system. Let's flip over to our wastewater system, and we're going to touch on the consent decree, which is, let me just lay the basis for that. DeKalb County was not performing. They were having spills in their system, and the Federal Environmental Protection Agency started this program. So it's not just DeKalb County, it was throughout the U.S. And they started going to local jurisdictions, and they were like, hang on, y'all are spilling sewage into the community. This has got to stop. It's a violation of the Clean Water Act. It's also in Georgia a violation of the Georgia Water Quality Control Act as well. So the agencies approached DeKalb County and said, we require you to do something to address it. And that agreement, they sat down months and months and months talking how would it be done, what steps needed to be taken. That was taken before a court, and the court says, okay, both sides agree, done, it's in writing, now you have to execute. Unfortunately, DeKalb did not execute on the first consent decree. Another one was negotiated in 2021, and at that time, I was DeKalb's attorney. So I was not a part of DeKalb. I was functioning as the attorney. And I changed midstream in 2019, where we were still negotiating. So I went from being attorney to coming in. So taking off my lawyer hat, putting on my engineering hat, to really run the program, because I've been with DeKalb County as the attorney since 2011. So that was a modification because first, DeKalb County thought that there were a lot of clogs in the system, and that's how you could help as well. And that's why you have a lot of things on the side there. Please go by and pick them up. They're related to clog. If you want to, could you pick up the blue funnel there? When you're in your kitchens, I'm just going to do a side commercial here. So we're on for a commercial break. No fog, no clog in the sewer systems. If you're in your kitchen and you're frying your turkey around Thanksgiving, please don't pour the oil or grease or any organic function. There you go, he's dramatically demonstrating it. Please go ahead and pour it into a glass container and dispose of it. And we will now schedule you back to your regularly programming. Okay, I'll switch back now. But we do want you to pick those up to remind your families and friends, please do not put anything in the sewer system. That will clog it. But we had a second modified consent decree, which instead focused on I&I, and that's influent infiltration of the water system, and that's what I'm going to focus on right now. Because the system is old, because we love trees in Georgia, and the roots of your trees in your yard, as pretty as that tree is, it is growing into your sewer system. And on the public side, we have a lot of trees in the county. It's growing into our sewer system as well, creating cracks. So when it rains, as it did this week, not just wastewater or sewage gets into our pipes. Because right now everything is flowing well, we're not having spills. As soon as the additional water comes in from rain, guess what happens? It overwhelms the system, and we start spilling because we can't contain it. Now, I want you to be clear on this. DeKalb County's sewer system, if you put each pipe end over end, runs from here to San Francisco. That's a lot of pipe to take care of. But you know what? Part of it is not DeKalb County's. Part of it is you as a property owner. 2/3 of the sewer system is private. It's the line that runs from your home to the curb, and you should have a cleanout cap that you see there. That white thing that you don't want people running the lawnmower over. You want the cap on it so that rainfall doesn't fall in it. You don't want your neighbor coming across and pouring paint into this. I mean, these are real stories, I'm telling y'all. You don't want to change your oil and it's like, oh, wait, this white thing here, pour it in there. That's all private. And if you can imagine, the public side are seeing all of these cracks due to age and what's happening on the private side. So it's just a thought for you to have, especially if you live in an older community where some of the pipes are terracotta. I said terracotta, yes. Oh, yes. They're broken, and the reason why your vegetable garden is growing really well, it's not because you have green thumbs. I'll just let you think about that. So there's the private side and the public side. And this is just a representation for all of y'all who have those handouts. You could see some of the ways stormwater gets into our system. Sometimes contractors decide, oh, we're going to save money on constructing this new home, and we're going to connect the gutters to the sewer system so we don't have to run a separate, system for the stormwater. Yeah, we find that. So there's a lot of things that make up getting in there. So we have the problem, stormwater is entering, it's countywide. And what's interesting under the modified consent decree 2021 was EPA and EPD. EPD is the state, so the Environmental Protection Division, EPA is feds, Environmental Protection Agency. They required us to fix repeat spill sites, and they call those PFLs, so they are supposed to be priority. In addition, we have priority areas, and you're going to see a map of those as well. So we are on our way of doing that out of the PFL sites, so areas in DeKalb County where sewer spills occur more than once within a 1-year period. We had 103 original sites in the modified consent decree. As you can see from the chart, we've already fixed 73 sites. 143 sites were added after that first negotiation. So the negotiations actually took place around 2020 when the 103 were established. But by the time the judge, because it has to go through a process in the Federal Register, notice and comment, before the judge finally says, okay, it's on my docket, we agree. So that took a year time. So the total of 243 PFL sites, 179 were adequately fixed. So out of the 67 we have remaining now, 36 rely on capacity improvement projects. And this is where I'm starting to talk about those big pipes that are bigger than me, that are taller than me in diameter, that we need to do. That's going to have some impact. I just wanted to show y'all graphically where all of the PFL sites are. So, Commissioner Johnson, it's not just in one area of the county. So, just in case you were going to ask me that question, it's all over the county. So you could see the dots there, the stars, it's all over the county, and these are the repeat spill sites that we have already fixed going on there. The other shaded areas are what's called priority areas. So whether it's green or that pinkish, the distinction between those two were, some of them were written in the initial consent decree, and then others were added, and they were agreed on by EPA, EPD before the court. So they are the areas where we prioritize getting the sewers fixed first. And as you could also see, it's throughout the county. It's not just one particular area or the other. It's both the north and south, where EPA, EPD, the Department of Justice, Georgia Attorney General's office, and the court are requiring DeKalb County, requiring us to fix the systems. We focus kind of in on the 4th district, so where you live. I wanted to tell y'all a little bit about projects we have upcoming, and I'm talking about the big projects that are going to be disruptive. Right now in orange, and I hope y'all could see that in your handout, if you look at the orange lines, so we have 2 projects that are going on right now. They're the smaller diameter, so things that are 16 inches or smaller. We have 2 projects that are going on right now in this district to address PFL sites. However, the green lines, those are our large trunk lines that run through our community. They're fine, except the red portions have to be addressed. And some of those red portions do snake into District 4. It's going to be a number of years before we get to them, but we tend to want to make you aware, because we're finishing up the design of those. We have to start getting easements because the pipes are larger. So we need to get easements from homeowners, property owners, business owners as to, hey, for the good of the community, we need to run these lines past there. And that's a process because we're using federal dollars, so they have a longer process as well. So we're working on that. But that just kind of gives you a snapshot as to what we're going to do in the future. There are other projects that are outside of District 4 that are also going to be happening in the future as well. Okay. Fixing the pipes are not the only thing that the consent decree requires. So everybody, if you've had a car before, or if you live in a home, there are certain maintenance activities you need to do to take care of your assets, right? You need to change the oil, change the filters. Even at your air conditioner, you need to be changing the filters on a particular basis. The consent decree requires us to do maintenance activities, and these are some of the programs. This is what happened last year. On a flow and rainfall monitoring program, we actually put flow monitors in our manholes to see if the levels are creeping up. And if they're creeping up, we're like, oh, wait a second, something is going on in the system, especially if it's not raining. And a lot of times, there are clogs or debris in our system. Believe it or not, we have found, because remember, we have large pipes, we found tires, we found asphalt, we found nets, we found wigs. Please, y'all, keep it out of the sewer system. Put it in the landfill. So we've been doing a lot of work. Smoke testing, acoustic testing, those assessment tells us the condition of the assets so we could plan on the appropriate fix to it. Okay, impact of infrastructure. As a county, we are continuing to grow. There are certain things, if we have food deserts in particular area, we do want grocery stores to come in. We do want to have facilities available like this facility or shopping available within the community so you don't have to go outside of the community. So development is needed, as well as we are going through a housing crisis, and we do need for the next generation to be able to get housing as we're still here. So bottom line is we are growing. We may not, some people may not want to, but we're all having kids and they have kids and we just grow. So that is part of what we are able to do as we build out our water system and our sewer system. We actually look forward to 50 years, and in some cases 70 years, as to what the Atlanta Regional Commission is saying DeKalb County will have growth. And whenever we're putting pipe in the ground, we're anticipating what that growth is. So we're not just stagnating it for 20 years, 30 years, no. Somebody's not going to have to replace those pipes for 50 and 70 years to come. Helping the future, we have financing in place to meet the terms of our modified consent decree. We want to increase our water reserves. Remember I told you we only have one water treatment plant? We need to have some backups up there. So if we could increase our water reserves, our drinking water reserves by 60%, that would be great. We do want to have a better quality of life in our communities where you don't have sewage spilling near your schools, spilling near your parks, etc. And we have the opportunity for new economic development, which is jobs. So we'll have more jobs coming in. And we want to protect our investment grade credit, which is really our bonds. It's one of the ways we fund our infrastructure. So the path forward, we do plan to do immediate work that we're working on, especially at the water treatment plant. We're going to have a rehabilitation project that's on the way. It'll be coming to PWI. We have the consent decree projects. They're in orange, as I mentioned before. And we're starting right now on a transmission main, which has been breaking a lot. And it serves like Emory and the CDC and everything. We have to address it. We are doing public outreach. Anytime we start a project, we go into the community, we engage to make sure everybody's at the table, whether you're from MARTA, whether you're from the hospitals, we try to get everyone around the table before we go in. We have the CIP advisory group, which is a representative, a community representative, which engages with us to make sure we're doing what we need to do, so that's there. And we are working with our federal and state agencies. Bottom line, if you have your phone, you could take a picture of the QR code and figure out more information on our projects, or go to the website. There we have our CIP website, which has all of the projects that we're currently doing, some projects that were closed out, and more importantly, we already have up on there projects that we plan to do in the future, descriptions, where it's going to take place, what we're going to do, why we're doing it. Questions? And I don't know how much time I have. Oh, it's not. Let me see. I'm sorry.
They said it was expired.
Okay. Do the website then. I apologize for that.
And so while we're teeing up the questions, thank you so much for that, Maria. You know, hearing that we have one water treatment plant, one wastewater treatment plant, it puts a new spin on one DeKalb, doesn't it? So it's so important that we take these actions. And even though we did our major items earlier this year in February, you will continue to see items come before the board. Like for the INI, we recently approved Duke's root control. Yep. To clear out roots in the sanitary sewer system. So you will continue to see us working on this as we go throughout the years. It's a 10-year program to make sure that we're meeting everything, so that it wasn't a one vote and done. We will continue to work on it. And then another piece of it that we hadn't talked about yet is the BOC also understanding that a rate increase hits majority of our homeowners hard. We right before we passed and approved the rate increase, we passed protections and implemented programs, well, we'll be implementing programs to help those who may have a hard time paying their water bills. Those will be rolling out, and we'll be pushing more information out on that. But that passed unanimously across with the BOC because every commissioner knew the importance of making sure that we're protecting our citizens. We need to protect their drinking water, but we understand the environment and the economy that we're living in, so we wanted to make sure that was critical and important. So I think we do have some questions.
Commissioner, we're just going to take a couple of questions
Okay.
because we do have the Q&A and we'll need to get to the department folks. Just a couple for now.
Hey, good morning. Got a real quick question. For the defaults in the piping that you have throughout the county, do you have a systematic statistical system to predict and forecast where your failures are going to occur? The follow-up question is, do you have insurance policies to cover, like in the event that something happens, an insurance policy will cover the cost? And thirdly, to pay for that, if in fact you do have something in place, do you have municipal bonds that would actually fund the insurance policy, the cost of the insurance policy?
Okay. So your first question, yes, we do have a process in place. It's on the industry-wise, you have NASCAR scoring. So when I had up there the assessment that we're doing, we also do a root cause analysis, and we look at other pipes that were put into the ground around the same time frame, but we also look at the material, and we look at what may have happened in the soil condition, because the soil condition could cause degradation as well. So we do have a predictive model. We have it on a cycle, so where we revisit particular pipes on a 5-year, 2-year, 1-year basis to see if they're still doing okay. Your second question, we do not have an insurance policy regarding failures. What we do have insurance for is when we're operating, because we do construct, and you need OSIP insurance for construction, and it's a lot. It's a couple million. To cover us while we're building out the system. But regarding municipal bonds, for example, we've been telling everyone that we are coming with a huge bond issuance at the end of this year, not per se to pay for insurance, but to actually pay for the work that we're doing. So it's going to be a big bond issuance to make sure we can continue the work. And that's backed by the rates that we've set over the next 10 years. I don't know. Who has the next question? Okay. We'll save it for the Q&A.
Thank you for your presentations. You didn't talk about the cost of a second facility treatment plant. So being that that's cost prohibitive, please tell us what that cost would be and what alternatives to a second plant might be.
Might be, okay. And I already said good morning to my sorority sister there. But we have looked in our master planning efforts as to what would it cost to build another water treatment plant as well as a wastewater treatment plant. Right now, the top half of the county, we send our wastewater to the city of Atlanta, where we jointly pay for the treatment of that wastewater or sewage with the city. So we share half and half. The reason we're not building another water plant, and parts of that is on our website, we've looked at having reservoirs in the quarries because we have a lot of rock here in DeKalb, but even building that out costs billions of dollars, not 1 billion, billions of dollars. So investment in the linear assets and building out our existing water treatment plant as well as our wastewater treatment plant was the recommendation going forward. Does that help with it? So we have that documented in our master plan, which looks out at different factors. And I'll close, so we'll have a Q&A.
Thank you, guys. So I think we did, I did neglect to say what area covers District 4 when I was doing my remarks, so I'll weave that in right now. So District 4 covers Stone Mountain, Clarkston, Pine Lake, Avondale, the southern part of Tucker, unincorporated Lithonia in the small corner, and even a small unincorporated part of Snellville that I didn't realize there was a part of Snellville in DeKalb. I thought it was all in Gwinnett. But when you look at detail in the map, you see that. So those are the main cities. We are East Central DeKalb, and so we represent everything in between, whether you live in the city or not. So the unincorporated areas in between that as well. And I will also acknowledge that we have House Representative Viola Davis has joined us. Thank you so much for being here, ma'am. Okay. So now we will get into our updates from our department heads. Chief Fulham, you're up first.
Exactly. Good morning, everyone. My name is Darnell Fulham. I'm the fire chief for DeKalb County Fire Rescue. I've had the pleasure of serving as a chief for 11 years now, and so I see a lot of familiar faces out there. First of all, let me thank Commissioner Johnson. She has been a true advocate for the fire department so far. A couple weeks ago, we had our Blazing Braves Women's Camp. That's an area that we're focusing on with our recruitment, and she came out and spent the day with us. I think she had fun.
I did. I'm not afraid of heights. I got up in the ladder.
Yes. Went up close to 100 feet in the air, but thank you very much. But I will speak very quickly because this is a perfect segue, and somebody said it. You know, that water that we use out of the hydrants, that is drinking water. It's the same pipes that we use for our fires. So we had a fire yesterday evening. We're using the hydrants. We're using the same water. And we're very proud of the fact here in DeKalb County, I'm not sure if you're familiar with a rating that's called an ISO rating. You probably heard me speak about it before. It's a rating from 1 to 10, 1 being the best, 10 not being so good. Here in DeKalb County, probably 8 years ago, we moved from a 3 to a 2. Right? This is part of the rating, or the rating is used for your insurance, your home insurance. In that long calculation that they do when they determine what your insurance rating is going, or your insurance cost is going to be. So moving up into a higher number should have an impact on your insurance. But we moved from a 3 to a 2. And let me tell you, 50% of the rating is just a fire service, right? So how many fire stations we have, how many personnel we have. 10% is our 911 system, right? Guess what the other 40% is? It's water. And so it does matter in many, many ways. And so we were very happy to move our rating up. Actually, we just had a review last year. We were at 83, right, as a 2. We moved up to 87. So we're very close to getting to that 1, which we are going to get. We're going to get to the 1. But just very quickly, I know time is important here, so I'll just speak to some of the things that are happening in the fire department. One, the SPLOS. In SPLOS 1, we received $44 million. SPLOS 2, we received $55 million. So thank you to you all who, first of all, voted, but second of all, are spending so that we can collect those pennies. And we're doing station replacements and adding to. So currently in DeKalb County, we have 26 fire stations located throughout the county. We serve all of the communities except for Decatur that has its own fire department. And then there's a part of the city of Atlanta that's in DeKalb that's served by the city of Atlanta Fire Department. But we provide fire service everywhere else. And so what we're doing is, once again, replacing fire stations, some of our aging. She talked about numbers. We have stations that are as old as the water system. So we need to replace those. But also we're adding to, because that's what's going to help with that ISO rating. That's what's going to help us be able to protect you better. In the area that we're adding these stations, we've already bought property for Station 27 and 28. Is actually in this portion of the county. It's in the what would be considered the southeast area. And if you think about growth that probably happened over the years, as Marie was talking about adding to the population, it moved from the west to the east. So the area that we need to add the stations are actually out in this area. So we've bought land on Pleasant Hill Road for a fire station, and then we've bought land off of Turner Hill for a new fire station. And so once again, that's adding to our stations, adding to our ability to protect. We've already identified the areas that we need more stations, and then we're going to be adding to the station count. So we're really excited about that. Just recently, we just added 5 more ambulances to our stock. So you may know that the majority of ambulance services provided by AMR in DeKalb County. We have a contract with them. But DeKalb County Fire, we do have ambulances as well. So you probably see those ambulances running around sometimes. They look a little different. Last year, there was a $3.9 million investment in DeKalb County Fire Rescue's EMS so that we can start to build up our resources. And so we've added those ambulances. We now have 12 ambulances, right? But we're trying to get up to 10 of those on the road every day. We soon will be there. So that's improving the service in that area as well. So we're really excited about that. You may know, too, that AMR's contract was due to expire at the end of last year. We extended that contract for 18 months. But the purpose of that was so that we could get a RFP on the street, and we can then decide how best to fashion our EMS service, put it out on the street for vendors to bid. And so that will happen at the end of this month, right, where that RFP, so you'll hear about this, that RFP will go out on the street. We'll get ambulance companies to bid for providing the service under our new terms, which will then once again help us to improve our service. So we're really excited. Last thing I always say, well, 2 things. One, I do have to do a commercial as well. We have smoke detectors, folks. So if you need smoke detectors, please, you can call our phone number, or you can go to a local fire station. We will install them for you as well, because we do not want you to just get them and then we find them sitting on the kitchen table. All right, we want them installed. So you can call us and we will bring the smoke detector to you. We will install it for you. The key factor there is that the fire deaths that occur, unfortunately, the times are between 11 o'clock and 7 a.m. that we have 50% of those fire deaths. And that's because people are doing what? Sleep. And so what's the number 1 cause of fires? Anybody know? House fires.
Space heaters.
Space heaters, I hear space heaters definitely during the winter. Cooking, number one cause of fires in homes is cooking, and what we call unattended cooking, where you're not watching whatever you are heating, right? Whether it's grease, whether it's water, whatever that is, you're cooking something. And believe it or not, the number 1 day for fires, house fires, is Thanksgiving. Yeah, because we're cooking. We're probably watching the football game. We're probably entertaining. And let me say this. For some, that's probably the first time you cooked. So but it is the number 1 day for us for a house fire. So we want to prevent them, but then if there is one, we want to make sure you're safe. And the last item I'll say, we are hiring. So if you know of somebody who's 18 years old, hasn't had a felony in the last 10 years, they get through our process. We will train them. They do not have to have any training to come on. We will train them. And we have probably about 60 vacancies right now. It's probably the lowest in years, but we do have some vacancies. So thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you. So we'll hold questions for him, all the questions till the end. So next we have Director Damon Scott.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Johnson, for your support and being a fellow Leadership DeKalb classmate. So that's
Class of 2020.
The best one ever. So I'm the Human Services Director, not Human Resources Director, right? Okay. And we provide the mandated services and wraparound services for the county. I like to refer to them as the safety net services, right? And that includes case management, in-home services for medical services, Meals on Wheels, We manage all of the senior centers in the county. We also manage our community violence intervention program for DeKalb County, which is underneath the Department of Justice to make sure that we are protecting our youth in a prevention way. Transportation for mobility and medical and dialysis trips that we do across the county. We also manage human services grants to 55-plus nonprofit organizations in the county, covering a range of services and supports the CEO's priorities, and also information and referral for any services that anybody in the county may need. We cover the entire county, the 770,000 persons. I want to shout out a few people here. This is one of the newest facilities that we co-manage with Parks and Recreation, but I want to acknowledge some of the staff that I see here today with Jay Sean and Florence and Willie. Charlotte, put your hand up. Jessica, Amari, anybody else that I missed that they came out. And our Youth Commission. Those are our next and future generation of policy leaders that we're investing in to make sure that DeKalb County is protected and served in that way. I have a couple of program announcements that I'm going to quickly sit down for so I can read it quicker because I don't have my glasses with me. But one of the things I wanted to mention was that this summer coming up, we will have, in partnership with the Community Development Department, I believe WorkSource is part of it as well, with Director Davis, but there will be 200 vouchers in the amount of $250 to support youth that need summer camp opportunities during the summer, and it's on a first-come, first-served basis. And Jay Sean, please raise your hand back there. He has more information on that as well. They're very excited to launch that. Another program specific to District 4, I want to thank Commissioner Johnson for her support, is that we're launching Girls Clubhouse, and that's another signature program, and that is investing in and providing group counseling and development for wellness and self-esteem for our young ladies that are in the county between the ages of 12 and 18 years old. And that is coming up as well. I believe the launch is on April 14th. And so, again, Jay Sean, raise your hand if you need any more information there. And then, beginning on June 1st, also with the support of Commissioner Johnson, we have another cohort of our Rise Up program that we're doing in partnership with Morehouse College for our at-risk male youth, DeKalb County, specific in District 4. My son is a junior at Morehouse right now, and I see the work and I see what the positive benefits of what happens through that partnership for District 4 and other at-risk male youth in the county that have never been on a college campus, have never received the life skills or the other opportunities to help them grow and take the next steps. So we're very excited and thankful for your partnership, Commissioner Johnson, to have that program managed through our Office of Youth Services. And I want to thank this awesome team here again that makes this facility run each and every day, along with Parks and Rec, because we saw it literally come out of the ground, and to see how it's serving the community now here in Stone Mountain is a great thing to see and a great thing to be a part of. So I want to thank you all this morning for being here with us, and I'll pass it on.
And let's give it up for this amazing facility, which is, 2 years old. It's just a jewel for us to have here in DeKalb County and especially in District 4. So next we have our Director for WorkSource.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Rob Davis, Director of WorkSource DeKalb. First of all, I want to thank everyone for providing me this opportunity to speak for a few minutes, especially about what we do and where we are. So first of all, what we do is we serve the residents and the business community of DeKalb County when it comes to workforce development. We're DeKalb County's Workforce Development Agency. We're funded by the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act, comes under the Department of Labor. So that's where our funding comes from. So what we do is we assist individuals for skills upgrading, occupational upgrading. We work with adults, that's individuals 18 above, that are unemployed or underemployed. Dislocated workers, individuals that have recently become unemployed due to no fault of their own, and youth, individuals 16 to 24 that may have challenges or barriers to employment. Now you probably said, where are we? We're located near the right in the same building of UCO, the Utility Customer Office, the water department, where you go pay your water bill. So we're right there. Also, we're coordinated with the Department of Labor for UI benefits. So we pretty much try to make it a one-stop shop when people come in, when they're filing for unemployment, and then they may want to have the opportunity to upskill, change their employment opportunities. So one thing I just want to talk about today, just for briefly, is the CEO and the Board of Commissioners Summer Youth Employment Program. So I figured I'd take a few minutes to talk about that. It's going to be offering up to about 350, 375 DeKalb County youth, ages 16 to 21, the opportunity to intern. And a lot of them are going to be working with government agencies. They may be working in Commissioner Johnson's office, the CEO's office, water department, maybe working anywhere, fire department, may even be working with code compliance, no telling. So we'll be working on that. Starts on June the 2nd. 5-week program ends on June the 3rd. 24 hours a week, $15 an hour. They'll be working on site. The last few years, the Summer Youth Employment Program has been virtual, primarily beginning of the pandemic, and then as we finally, there's the pandemic, effects of the pandemic thawed out, and we're coming working on site. I have some flyers that are on the table out there, and I have a few flyers up here, and just for you all can pass the word out. I'm sure no one in here, I'm looking around, and I don't think anybody in here really qualifies, but they may know someone for the Summer Youth Employment Program. But on the other side, you may know someone that may be able to take us the services that we do at WorkSource DeKalb, 365 days a year of assisting individuals to upscale. Thank you.
Thank you. And
excellent point there. So the registration started on Thursday. That was April the 10th, and it's going to end at midnight on next Sunday, April the 20th. WorkSourceDeKalb.org, but that is the quickest way to get to it, but the flyer will have all the information there that's sitting out there. All of the, as a matter of fact, wherever district you're in, the commissioners all have the information, and they're going to be putting it in their websites also. So thank you very much.
thank you. Last but not least, we have co-compliance.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Graylin Benefield. I am the supervisor of the corridor team of code compliance. In code compliance, there are several teams. There's the MET team that deals primarily with hotels, motels. We have the NREM team that deals with NREM and abatements, and we have 3 residential teams. My team in particular, the corridor team, we deal primarily. Can you hear me now better? I'm sorry. Normally I don't need this, but anyway, the corridor team that I supervise, we deal primarily with businesses, and we check whether their businesses have business license or they have any other violations that we need to address. I don't have any commercials at this time, but if you all have any questions in regards to any of the issues that you may have with code, I'll be glad to answer them at the end of this session. If I can't answer your question that may pertain to something that's different from what I deal with primarily, I'll be glad to look it up and get back with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So we are actually going right on schedule. We will start our Q&A section. We will be passing out the mics. Okay, we got a lot of questions this morning.
Yep, we got questions. For folks that are watching on YouTube, please be sure that you, there's a section on the YouTube where you're going to hit in order for us to receive your questions, and we'll get to those questions during the Q&A. Thank you. I'm going to go to the back. I'm going to move around, get my steps in today. All right.
Good morning. My name is Shaliwa Smith. I am a resident of Clarkston. I had 2 questions. There used to be an email or a phone number that we could call to report trash being dumped or mattresses. It was Keep DeKalb Beautiful. Is that still a resource? And I'll go ahead and pose my second question. A few weeks ago, my son and his friend were home on college spring break. They came home, it was like 11:45 in the evening. They parked their car right in front of my home on Cimarron Drive. 30 minutes later, that car was stolen. So you can imagine a college student, first of all, who doesn't have any money, having his car stolen, and then having to figure out how to get back to Florida. We have a Ring camera, so we were able to see when they pulled up, and I heard when they came in the house. And we saw when the car took off, but we could not see who stole it. And it's just so disheartening to have that happen right in front of your home. We've talked a lot in the community about neighborhood watches and that sort of thing, but I don't know if that will fix it. Watching it happen is a whole lot different than actually having a solution. What can we do to address things like that? Can we get a police car that patrols the neighborhood? It's just, it was very hurtful for that to happen to him, but even more so right in front of my home.
So we don't have a representative from the police department here today, but we will take your concern back to them and figure out what we can do to help beef up patrols in your area, ma'am. You had the answer for the Keep DeKalb Beautiful?
Hold it.
In regards to a direct line, thank you. In regards to making a complaint, one of the most quickest ways you can do that is dial 311. That'll get you into our call center, and they can lodge the complaint, and it can be addressed by almost any department, and they will let that go to whatever department that it'll address, and that's one of the quickest ways you can get a response. You're welcome.
Good morning. I am Chaplain Tammy, and I am from the Tucker area, and I have a question for the sweet lady at the end with the water. So you say that that you've implemented some help for, I'll just say seniors, because I am in that senior group, for the 10% increase. However, is there a scale that they're going to go by? Because the water has just gotten ridiculous. When you look at your bill, it's like 3 charges. You get the sewer, then you get the water, then you get something else. And and then when you do call to try to get assistance, then they say, no, there's no programs available. So with this 10-year increase that we're doing, when our water bill is already outrageous, what relief are we looking for?
So I will first start by explaining our water bill and stating we have not yet started the rate increase. DeKalb County, unlike any other jurisdiction in the metro area or other utilities in the southeast, has not had a rate increase in a decade. Other jurisdictions, to better support their assets, have rate increases every single year. And this is what we're turning to. We're turning to what's industry standards. So the DeKalb bill that you're having right now has not had an increase for over a decade. There are 3 charges on your bills, and this has been happening for about 2 decades. You have the ready-to-serve charge. So there's a charge for actually putting in the system and making sure you're ready to serve, installing your meter. Then there's a charge for the actual water that you're drinking. Remember, we have to treat the water and then transport it to you, so there's a charge for that. Then there's a charge for your sewage, because once you utilize that water, it goes down your drain, and we have to take it to the water treatment plant, which is at the Snapfinger location. We also have one other treatment plant, Polbridge. We don't talk about that a lot, but it's a newer treatment plant. And it has to go through a treatment process, and the costs associated with that is another charge on your bill. We do not have a profit. Actually, we've been operating on bare bones and on a deficit, which is why we have been delaying a lot of improvements. So that's one question about just understanding your bill. The rate increases have not taken place right now, but we're starting to move to industry standards. The second question regarding, I've forgotten. Seniors, I am so sorry. So there, I know the senior moment. I'm not that senior, but we do have a program that's rolling out with the rate increase. You're going to have an office for consumer advocacy. So you as the consumers, this is something that the Board of Commissioners insisted on. You will have an advocate that would advocate for your position as to anything that's going on, not just on your bill, your service, et cetera, in addition to an actual formula. So we're utilizing a formula right now that's similar to what HUD utilizes, where you have the low income, and then you have the extremely low income, and they will have different rates off. And right now, a lot of the projections are showing consistent billing for the low and the extremely low income, where their bill will not change, and there will be a much lower increase along the way. So we really do want to protect not just our seniors, because we may have a senior that's a multimillionaire. So it's really based on how many people you have in your household, and then what's the income, and it's similar along the lines to the HUD program on the federal level.
Thank you.
Good morning, Kevin Polite. I'm in the new part of District 4 that was redistricted from 3. My question is for the attorney. What protections do we have in place to prevent us from 10 years down the road of not having that issue? Because I have a rental property where they finished the project back in July, but there's still a temporary part in the creek adjacent to it that they still haven't come to. And I initially reached out to Mr. Wells, and before that, Mr. Hayes, and they were saying December of this year. And I pleaded with them, and they said that they're going to try to move it up to June. But just imagining on an issue as small as that, if you're talking about the whole county. And then my other question is, I personally live across one of the, I think, 14 areas that are the problem areas. Mm-hmm. And I guess I've talked to Shoal Creek Project
yes.
Info line, and they're indicating it's going to start sometime in after 2026. But my concern is that there's 45 trees that are going to be removed.
Yes.
And that's in a park area. And I understand the roots can grow, but is there a tree replacement plan that they can put in place where it won't affect the roots growing into the new pipes that are going in?
Okay. So I'll take your first question first. I won't have a senior moment again. So addressing current construction and current projects that we have right now that's going on, we have multiple contractors, and sometimes you cannot shorten projects because we run into various issues. Like one of our biggest challenges in DeKalb County is rock. And sometimes we have to blast, and unfortunately sometimes we end up hand tunneling just because of the sensitivity in the neighborhood around us. I will follow up with Director Hayes to see if, I'm sorry, Director Wells, because Director Hayes did retire. If I could get your address to make sure of the rental property, to make sure I better understand what's happening with that project there, to whether it can move up or not, and whether we could get our contractors to actually move. The second question really dealing with the broader implementation. So, and particularly with the Shoal Creek trunk. And as I mentioned before, we have had that project up because that's the big one. That's the project where we're trying to put in 72-inch pipes. So that's bigger than me. And we are going under I-20. We're going under 285. We're going under 4 additional highways. And we're going, that Shoal Creek, the entire stretch is over 11 miles. It's a huge undertaking. And yes, we've put out information on our website to show everyone where is the route, what we're planning to do. We're not just waiting on those trunk lines. We are doing work right now to address the neglect in the basin. So we have the county split into different sub-basins as well as the 3 major basins. And we're doing what's called comprehensive rehab right now, where we do kind of like a plastic liner that's supposed to extend the length of the pipe for an additional 50 years or so in the area, in the basin, even in this area, to try to address some of the leaks that are happening until we are ready to start the trunk line projects. A couple of things we need before the trunk line projects. The whole consent decree, we needed over 1,000 easements and properties. And we are really trying not to condemn anyone in the process and negotiate with homeowners and go through that process there. That takes some time. When we get to 80% of getting all of our easements, we assume that we're going to get the 20% with no problem. We take it into procurement. We did not have the funding for that. We did not have funding last year or the year before. We could have done a lot more in the system. The approach we have now, we now have funding so we could get up to speed. DWM is also hiring, not just the fire department. So we do have some needs to get it up to speed. And everything you see on the screen up here right now, those are the targeted projects. So we're not only just waiting on the big projects to get those big pipes in the ground, we're trying to do corrective action on the properties we have right now. There are a lot smaller projects, a lot aligning, and hopefully that answers both of your questions. So I do need your rental property address.
Okay.
So the tree replacement, unfortunately, we will have some trees being replaced, but we cannot have trees by ordinance and statutes. We can't have trees, certain shrubs on any of our assets just because of that degradation which happens. We actually have easement clearing, which every couple of years it clears the brush. It's part of the consent decree as well. We have an agreement with the feds as to how often we're going to clear that. But wherever we could replace, especially if it's on private property, we will do replacement, but it cannot be over sewer lines.
Good morning. Commissioner Johnson.
Yes, ma'am.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
My question don't have anything to do with none of this. But I'm learning as I'm sitting here. But my question regards to the aesthetic of the county. Mm-hmm. And he probably left, but who is responsible for debris removal, tree removal, cleanup, trash, whatever, other than our own personal trash, but on the roads? I live in this general area. Got a bad situation in my neighborhood, and I try to represent my community where I live. So who is responsible for taking something down that's blocking the sidewalk that belongs to the county? So that's my question.
Yes, ma'am.
And thank you.
Thank you, and thank you again for the congratulations. Happy to be here serving. So that would be our sanitation department, and unfortunately, there is a conflicting program going on right now that the CEO is having, and so the sanitation team is over there. And typically, they would be here to be able to directly answer your question, but that is our sanitation team. But if you will give us a call or email or give us your contact information and we can get the location, we can help make that connection and they can get someone, figure out how we can get someone out there to clean that up. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'll also add that, yes, our beautification department is a department that helps with the right-of-way, and there are a number of programs that they have where they provide materials for community members. If you have groups to help do cleanup events, that's one way that we all can help be involved. I know there's some discussion about a street sweeper.
Yes.
Yeah, so we'll see if we end up with that. But the biggest thing is that it's a issue that we have, not just in DeKalb County, but across the nation in terms of cleaning up. There are going to be some efforts working with our schools, with our young folks, and see Mr. Hammonds is here. I don't know if that's on your agenda. Yeah, the young kids, to work with the kids and helping to educate our children on not littering. But I got to tell you, and I know you all have seen this because I know I have seen it. I'm not going to blame the littering problem on our babies. I see adults litter. I see adults throw things out of their car at the light at stop signs. So as much as we all can do that and just help each other, help this earth and not litter, we're going to be better off. But beautification has a number of programs that's helpful. And I think you wanted to say something? Yes, we need you to be on a mic, though.
Thank you. One other thing you could do, especially in your neighborhoods, if you see someone who is what we call open storage, trash and debris, if they are littering in their neighborhood, you can call 311, as I mentioned earlier, and also give an address of the property. You can do it anonymously because sometimes there can be some retaliation as well. But if you were to just call 311 and say this neighbor is not doing what they need to do to keep the neighborhood up, a code compliance officer will come and address that to that person and make sure that they are at least trying to get their properties up. They may start out with a warning notice. They may start out with a verbal notice. Or if it continues, it can go into a citation, which will go into the courts.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Tyra Pates. I have two issues to address. One is a serious issue that we're having in this immediate area with the reliability of our electricity service. Between January 2023 and last Friday, my power has been out 29 times for at least 4 hours each time. Sometimes there have been several days. I understand that definitely there are times when there's a storm or something of that nature, but there's been a serious challenge with the consistent reliability of our electricity in this area. I've raised the issue directly with Georgia Power. They have come out to the neighborhood and they have done some tree trimming. We do live in a very older growth area where there are a lot of mature trees. However, I've even filed a complaint with the Public Service Utility Commission recently. That complaint was filed and opened and closed within an hour with the response of saying that Georgia Power, their reliability team knows about it and they're working on it. They're really not. With more and more people who work from home remotely, with people who have medical conditions and such, it is really important to have reliable electricity. And I think this has gotten to the point where it is definitely more than just individuals raising their concerns with the Public Service Utility Commission, that perhaps at this point, we also need the county to help us as much as possible to help them Georgia Power to do better in terms of being able to provide us consistent, reliable service. The second is regarding traffic. At the intersection of North Harrison and Memorial Drive, some stuff that was mentioned last year was addressed, and I think it's made a great addition to reducing traffic incidents in that area. I think a little bit more could be done in eliminating right turns from North Harrison onto Memorial Drive going west, right in front of the Checkers, because at the same time, you often have cars that are making a left turn onto Memorial Drive who are attempting to go into the plaza directly at the same intersection. And those between the left turns and the right turns occurring at the same time, that's causing the exposure for the issue. The last issue with traffic is at the intersection of Kenilworth Circle and North Harrison, where the new Memorial Drive, where the new Walmart is, where the light was put there. There was a light put at only at 3 of the 4 directions in that area. When you're on Kenilworth Circle attempting to turn onto North Harrison, there's no light. So that traffic is left waiting to notice if the traffic on Harrison is slowing or if the traffic turning out of Walmart is starting to move. We don't have a light to signal when we are able to make a turn, and that would be very helpful.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for those concerns. So with the traffic issues, we will take those back and get with traffic and see what we can do on those. For the Georgia Power, I know Ms. Dunaway standing right behind you. She had emailed us a few weeks ago about some power concerns, but we had not heard that many numbers of power outages. So we'll get more information on, I think I have an idea where you live with the other traffic questions that you had. So we'll take those to Georgia Power and see what we can do. Because I know I live not too far from there too, but that is way more outages than I was aware of. So we will bump that up for you. So can I get one up here real quick? Because they're doing gymnastics for me.
Thank you. I'm subject to super senior moments, okay? I'm Chris Griffin, and I live all over South DeKalb, okay? I have a comment and a question for the chief, and a comment and question about code compliance. Chief, super job. Super job. And all of you that voted for Splosh, super job. The other part of that equation is we as residents in South DeKalb really have very little to say about how that Splosh money is used. That needs to be fixed, people, because at the end of the day, if we don't speak up now, get engaged now, we're going to end up at the end of Splosh complaining about projects that should have been done. That's actually the bad news. The good news is you guys really are doing a great job. And that $50 million that you're looking forward to, I believe a lot of that, if not all of it, is coming from Splosh 2. I'm curious as to how that's really going to work, because Splosh is pay as you go. You get the money and then you can spend the money. How is it going to work to get those projects paid for if you are looking at getting the money over the next 5 years? That's the first question. Second question is there some kind of matrix that the fire department has to go through so that we can see the fruits of our money being invested in fire station improvements? Is there something that we can look at and say, wow, when we get to level 1 or, whatever the criteria is, that we can start to advocate for reductions in our insurance rates because of the deficiencies of the past? Okay, now you hold on to that. Let me get over to, yeah. I got to get mine out. It'll get away from you. In regards to code compliance, to the extent that the system is broken from a residents or constituent standpoint, the problem really seems to be a breakdown between what the Solicitor General, the Solicitor's Office, can work out as far as remediation of the problems and what the judge that's actually overseeing the cases are actually applying, or whatever the process is. There's a breakdown where the solicitor's office is not able to get the kind of financial penalties and remedies that we need to see our communities improved. Do we need to get legislation from our delegates to say enforce the law or change the law so that it can be more effectively applied to remedying the problems? Or do we just need to flat out elect some different judges?
Okay, so we're going to go to Chief first, and you can. And so as I'm He's going to marinate on that. As I'm handing over the mic, I will say when it comes to SPLOS 2 and the Oversight Committee, we're actively, the BOC, the commissioners are actively finding our members to sit on that. I know we interviewed a potential candidate this week. I think it was this week, maybe last week. Days are blurring. But we're actively working to get that advisory committee established. Yes.
Okay. I think I heard three questions. I'll try to address all three. So the first one about the SPLOS and the projects themselves, there is on the county's website, there is a SPLOS section that outlines the projects that are underway. It outlines the collection. I know that I think it's quarterly, the SPLOS team comes to the Board of Commissioners and does report out on the collection. And as you spoke about, this is a pay-as-you-go. So as we identify projects, obviously we would have to get the amount of money that then would allow for that next project to be approved. So there is a process in place for doing that. It is collections as you go. The dollar amount that I mentioned was what was forecast for the county to receive. And I think SPLOS 1, they actually did better in the collection rates than was forecast. So that's the one. The second one you mentioned about yourselves and as individuals, how do you ensure that you're getting, in essence, and I'm paraphrasing, the best rate for your insurance? I would just say call your insurance company and ask, first of all, do they understand what the rating is for DeKalb County? And then if that was to improve, I would say then that's a subsequent call to say, did you now recognize that now the county is at a higher rating? So each insurance company, I can tell you, and I never quote a number because every insurance company has its own formula, how they use the ISO and everything else that's involved in them calculating your rating. So that's what you can do. And then I think the third one was just the department itself. So there's a couple factors. If you have a fire station within 5 road miles of your house and you have a fire hydrant within about 500 feet of your house, you're probably getting the best rating that you can get, if that makes sense. So once again, if you have a fire station within 5 road miles, and if you've ever changed insurance, sometimes they will ask you, where's the closest fire hydrant? Generally, if it's within 500 feet of your house, then you're going to get the best rating. That's how we have used, that's part of the information we have used in determining where do we need to put the next fire stations. So we're putting, I can give you the example, Pleasant Hill Road off of 124. That fire station was being placed there. That was a #1 priority because we know that area is outside that distance. There needed to be a fire station there so that those communities that are being built out will have a station close so they do get the advantage of the 5 miles. I think I answered all three.
Do you have an answer? Do you need to talk to him offline?
Well, I will say this. I know I said I wasn't going to have a commercial, but this is probably a part infomercial. In regards to whether the system is broken, we do have some problems. A lot of what you stated is true. Let me give you all just a little bit of a scenario how we go about doing court. I think and I will say this, I think the system is antiquated the way we look at fines. There's not a deterrent for violations anymore. But what we do at code, if we find a violation, whether it's a residential or business or commercial or whatever, we cite the person. If it brings them to court, it's a citation. And after we cite them, we do what is called a court reinspection as well. Even before the court reinspection, what we have is we have a pretrial. We go over the case with the solicitors. So they have no qualms as to what's going on with that case. So at that point, after we've cited them, we've done a court reinspection, we've done a pretrial. The pretrial is normally the day before the court date. We go to court. The judge may make an announcement at the beginning of the session to basically say, we're just trying to get in compliance. Personally, I think it should be more than that. I think getting into compliance is not enough, and it's not much of a deterrent. We will state the case to the solicitors. The solicitors will talk with the defendant. Say, for instance, the defendant at this point in time can't come up with the remedy. Sometimes that particular situation will be given a reset. If it's given a reset, after all we've done as far as court reset, court reinspection, another 30 to 45 days, we've got to do that all over again. That's not productive, but the citizen does have that right to say, hey, I need to have more time to get this rectified. Where we come into problems, if it goes back to court, we go back to court, we have to go through the same process all over again. When we go through that same process and then again it's reset, then the frustration sets in. It sets in with our code compliance officers, and we're not being productive as we need to be. Now, my team, we deal with businesses. And in dealing with businesses, they can afford more than a regular residential person. But they are hurt more or less because of the time, not by the fines. And I do believe, and we've advocated this, we've had what is called ride-alongs with the solicitors team so they can see what we do. And we've got one coming up soon where we're going to do another ride-along so they can not only hear about it, but they can see what's going on. But nevertheless, the fines that are issued are not a deterrent. Just bottom line, they're just not a deterrent. And that's what we need to get to. We need them to see how important it is to especially for those who can't afford it. I know, like, I'm a senior as well, and sometimes seniors are hard pressed, and we want to try to come up with a program to assist them to do what they need to do to come into compliance. But businesses, I don't have that same type of sympathy for, and I think we need to do more about it. But to answer your question in a short form, I think we need to change that. This is what some of the things we've been working on. My team and several other supervisors did have a meeting recently with the solicitor and the solicitor team in regards to what we want to see. And one of the things we are trying to work on is getting them to understand the importance of finding these teams appropriately. And a lot of times the defendant, they can see how the court is going. They understand I can get a reset. I can get a reset again. And then they may challenge it to the point where they may go to state court. What that does is just kick the can further down the road. And you're not getting any response. Like I said, we're spending money hand over fist, and then to make matters worse, we're losing officers behind this because it's frustrating. DeKalb is probably one of the lower, and I'm not trying to make an advertisement here, everybody, but DeKalb is probably one of the lower paying counties in regard to code compliance. And we do a lot with code compliance. And as far as an answer, I wouldn't say let's let the judges know that we need to change the status of how we look at things in the courtroom. It has to be a better deterrent. We can't keep having resets after resets after resets and not getting any satisfaction. I hope that answered your question, sir. All right.
So we do have a couple questions in the back, and then we're coming to you, sir, up front. And then we're going to respect everybody's time because we are getting right at, it is 11 o'clock. So we're going to take these last few questions.
Okay. I'm Ann McCormack. You and I have met before, Commissioner. To tag on to the woman from Clarkston, I have been trying to advocate for over a year to try and get the county and the Clarkston area police to kind of coordinate some coverage because I'm experiencing the same level of that. So again, over a year, I'm bringing it up again. I'd still like to continue working on that because we've had numerous gunshot issues over in our area with high-powered guns and et cetera. So yes, I appreciate what you're going through, what you're saying about the crime. I've been trying to do it for over a year. So I'm on the background, just so you know. I've talked with both Clarkston and the county and the Tucker precinct, everybody. And I'd still continue to like to work on that situation. We, over Norman Road neighborhood, we still have not had any action done on our traffic issue with the speeding and et cetera. We've been working on that for over a year. And we've not heard anything back from the traffic, so I'd like to bring that up and put that back on the radar for my community over there. The other issue is that I live, like literally my property line is the border of Clarkston. I have a high density housing project going in behind me of 36 homes on less than 5 acres of land. They have done multiple variances, and as a result, the houses that were originally approved back in 2019 and 2020 with their land disturbance have doubled in size, and as a result, the pervious versus impervious percentages have changed. We're in floodplain. My house was in the first ones put into the floodplain. Just recently, I filed a complaint, and I did contact you, Commissioner, and I'm sorry to put you out like this, but back in March, where they were infringing on the creek buffers. So not only do we have an increase in the pervious versus impervious going against the stormwater drainage and everything else that we have that is antiquated in our area, and we have had multiple sewer spills in that area, but we now have a pervious versus impervious percentages that were originally approved, and they are never re-inspected by the county. So when the plans change for that development and you have those percentages and the absorption of the water and the loss of the tree coverage and everything else and et cetera, the county never goes back to re-inspect to see whether or not this new construction can absorb. So as a result, my property and our outlying area property and my neighborhood is now experiencing creek erosion, land erosion, and et cetera. But nothing's being done about it. They encroached upon the creek buffer zones, and I was told by Clarkston Engineering and everything else, and I never got a response from the county, that it's to be expected. So now I've got cleared area in a creek buffer zone that's supposed to be protected by a 75-foot buffer zone. We've got additional drainage going in because the pervious versus impervious. And now what do? The county never goes back and re-inspects any of that for any construction in the county. So while your developers are making all these adjustments to their plans and getting their variances approved by the county or approved by the cities that are within the city, in the county, your water department, your sewer department, and whoever is supposed to, your engineering department never is required to go back and reevaluate as to whether or not the developer is doing what they need to do to maintain the sewer systems and maintain any drainage that they're going to be causing to the outlying areas. And that is a big problem.
Okay, thank you for your comment, and I'm going to put her on the spot, but you have your brand new city manager from City of Clarkston here, Chakira Miller-Thornton. She was vigorously taking notes, so we will make sure we coordinate on some of these issues that you're bringing up. I do remember your email about the stream buffer, so we'll verify and see if we got a response back, because those are department questions that we have to get answers from the departments, so we'll verify and see if we... So we will verify and see if we can get you an answer, and we'll also coordinate with the city of Clarkston. If they are encroaching in the stream buffer, then we also need to get the state, ma'am, we also need to get the state involved because those are their stream buffers as well. So we will work on getting your issues addressed. And like you said, I do remember you emailing me. I thought we had responded, but we will follow back up on it. I think we had another one in the back here.
Good morning.
Good morning.
First of all, I want to thank you for continuing this type of activity. I think it's great for us to be able to be engaged with you and you being engaged with us. So,
thank you.
My question is, I know that I believe it was last month, it might have been a little bit earlier, there was some decisions made on House Bill 581.
Mm-hmm.
From what I read, and I'm putting that in quotes, is that there was one decision made by DeKalb County and then it flipped. So can you give us a broad overview of where DeKalb County final decision was made on House Bill 581?
Yes, ma'am, that is a great question. So it was, House Bill 581 is that homestead exemption that our legislators passed last year. And then we voted on a referendum because I think the language was so confusing that no one knew what they were voting on. And then we had to take action. All the counties and the cities had to take action at the beginning of this year. There were rules in place and guidelines that we had to follow where we had to hold 3 public comment sections as if we were going to opt out. Because if we had not held those public comment sections, we would not have been able to properly opt out of the homestead exemptions. What we ended up doing is not taking action. So by not taking action, we actually opted in. The reason we opted in is we have existing homestead exemptions that are better and been in place longer than the ones being offered by that new House bill. But for some reason, if we had not opted in and our current exemption had expired, we wanted to have a backup for our residents. There were also other pieces moving in the background, and I think they did fix them before the legislature ended, where DeKalb County was also facing a cap on the amount of tax that we could have, and our MARTA tax was being accounted for that, and it was going to hinder whether or not we could have a SPLOST 3, but I do believe the legislature fixed that before the end of the session. So DeKalb County ended up opting in, and the tax assessors, when this is implemented, will choose the homestead exemption that is most beneficial for the resident, whether it's our existing one, which I think dates back to 2006, or the new one that looks at the property values from 2024. So you can see if you've had your home long enough, a property value from 2006 is going to be much better for you than a property value from 2024. So they have the option, they have the charge in that bill that they will choose whichever benefits you the most, whichever makes the most impact for you and lowers your rates. So the county opted in. It was confusing. That's a great question. Yes, ma'am.
I want to thank the BOC and definitely thank you, Commissioner Johnson, for all the work that you do in the community. Thank you for engaging all the community. One of the questions, one is for Chief Fulham. Consideration in the past, there used to be disaster readiness conferences or summits. The weather Mother Nature is changing. A lot of our families are not really disaster ready, and I think that takes a continuous engagement. So I would like to just put that out there about disaster readiness. The other question I have, it's for Commissioner Johnson, protection for our unhoused population, and particularly for the extended stay hotels. Those families are not there by choice. A lot of buses drop children outside those spaces. There needs to be a coordination between the school systems and the county, so therefore there are no children. And we need to have higher protection for our unhoused population. And the last question really is for the solicitor around the water. And I'm not an engineer, I don't know nothing about, but would it really help to have mitigation of water, meaning the rain harvesting? I'm from Africa, so rain is very precious, water is very precious. So I do know the stormwater drainage going into the sewage, that also creates a problem. Would it help to have community education where we all have water tanks where we can actually use our gutters so those water is collected And that way there's less water from all of us going into the sewer system, but we also are also disaster ready.
So I'll answer my question first since I have the microphone. The homelessness issue is one of the top priorities for me personally. At our joint BOC CEO retreat we had the other week, I charged the CEO and the administration that we have got to take ownership on our homelessness issue. It is growing and growing, especially in District 4, especially along Memorial Drive. I really think that DeKalb County needs to be managing our own homelessness shelter. That is something, we are one of the counties in the metro area that has not done that. That is a heavy lift. That's going to take a lot of work, a lot of effort, a lot of money, a lot of planning. So I don't expect that we'll have a shelter up and running within the next year, maybe 2, maybe 3, but we need to put it on the horizon. It needs to be front of mind as we're working on this problem. Because like you said, we have children, busloads of children getting dropped off at extended stays. I am personally building a relationship with the Board of Education and my school board members so we can be collectively working on all that. So I don't have definitive answers for you right now, but I can promise you it is something that we are actively talking about and trying to find solutions for. Thank you.
Okay. Great seeing you again. Great question about the weather and being prepared, being weather aware and weather ready. So what I will say just very quickly, the fire department, we work with our emergency management agency, DEMA, who does put on those classes, whether it's just a awareness level or all the way up to the CERT classes you may be aware of. Afterwards, if anybody wants to come up to me and get more information about that, what I will do is give you my contact information. We will come out to events like this. We'll come out to homeowners association meetings and provide that training so that you can be better weather aware and prepared, especially with what we're seeing today with more severe storms, longer lasting storms. So thank you very much.
And the final question regarding being better stewards of our stormwater. Today, right now, at the other event that's happening on Port Sanford, the beautification team, they actually have their rain barrels that they're showcasing, and I think that's going to go on until 2 o'clock over at Port Sanford. But that's a brilliant idea, especially as we talk about we're building out the county. We have more impervious surfaces, and just having a better use. It's just better water even to garden with or stay there. And it would help keeping that water out of our sewer system as well and putting a better use at it. But Port Sanford until 2.
Until 2.
Good morning, and thank you so much. I have a couple of questions. One, you mentioned a bond issue that's coming. I wondered when that might be. And 2, I know that the rate increases are going to be 10% for 10 years. Is that correct? So what happens at the end of that 10 years? I know you don't have a crystal ball, but I'm going to a neighborhood meeting, and I kind of like to bring an answer, back to that.
So we plan to have a bond issuance later this year, maybe at the end of the summer, July, et cetera. We're going through the process right now with our financial advisor, as well as our bond counsel and disclosure counsel. So you will see that in the months to come. It will go before the board. It will likely go through PWI and the FAB committee, which has a finance and budget committee, as well as the public works and infrastructure. The second question regarding, I know I'm having all these senior moments.
What happens at the end of the
end of the 10-year plan? So we actually have the CIP is built out. Right now, it's actually built out 15 years, even though we've presented the 10-year plan. Not all of our projects make it into the 10-year horizon as to what's reasonable to get industry standard. And right now, we're seeing we can get projects done. So rule of thumb, you want to replace your water, your linear assets, your pipes, and your sewer assets 1% a year. That's assuming that your assets last 100 years. Right now, the cost of that is between around $250 million a year. It's a huge number, but that's just to maintain our linear assets, not to do improvements at the plant. Right now, at the end of the 10 by 10 period, we could still do work keeping that rate right now. However, Lord knows what's going to happen with inflation. We have no idea what's going to happen with tariffs. We don't know the impact. Right now, we're talking to our vendors. There are some parts that we need. We want to build out our plant. They're telling us we don't know what's going to be happening, getting some parts imported that's not made here. So things may look good right now for that additional 5-year period beyond the 10-year, but we still have not felt the hit of the tariffs or the turmoil that's happening in the system, and inflation has been ticking back up in our projections in the construction world. So
We need a crystal ball.
we need a crystal ball.
Yes, sir.
I'll hold it. Okay, really quick. I believe it's for code enforcement. In our subdivision, there are several commercial vehicles, flatbeds, people working on their cars, have the flatbeds, put the cars on it and blocking the street. And also people parking on the street, which I know is not illegal, but when there is, it's dangerous because we have someone parking on the street that's at another impeding traffic, yeah. Another street, there's a hill, so we have to go around the car on the hill, and then another car is coming in front of you, so cause for collision. And as well as the flatbed, and there was trees down, but Ms. Brooks, we did call her, and we spoke with her, and then she did inform us and gave us the correct information. But my husband, every time we call code, they tell us that there's no supervisor to talk to. They go, there's no one else to talk to, and they're not very professional. And as well, and one more thing, and as well as we do have rental properties, and we have a rental property house we've been calling on for 3 years, and it's been vacant. And rodents are going over into our property, which is causing us to shell out more money, calling pest control, and nothing has been done about it, and we've been calling for over 3 years.
First and foremost, I apologize for all the problems that you've been having in your neighborhood. In regards to the impeding of traffic, there are codes in regards to that. In regards to commercial vehicles parked in a residential area, there's codes in regards to that as well. What I want to do is get your address of your community, and I can see if there's a case already built for that. If not, I can make sure that the case is created, and we'll try to get that resolved for you. But I do apologize for all the confusion and all the problems you've been having in your neighborhood. That sounds like something we should be able to correct. And I don't know what supervisor did not respond to you, but I apologize on behalf of the department, and we want to get that rectified.
Contact number?
Yes, we'll get you the contact number. We'll connect you to as we're wrapping up, sir.
I do have a couple of business cards on me. I'll be glad to give them to you. And if like I said before, what I would want to do is just get your addresses and get your names and number, and I'll share my card with you, and we can try to get this rectified for you, okay?
All right. So thank you, everybody. We are at overtime, and I'm trying to respect everybody's time. I'm sorry if we did not get to everybody's question, but we will be holding this quarterly. We have put contact information out there. Just thank you again to all our department heads and staff and everyone who helped put this together.